Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, and I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business. Also joining us is the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Michael Worldby Freer, who's a senior writer at Stat Factor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. And tonight, we're thrilled to be joined by Hall of Famer and Laker legend, Michael Cooper. Much more on Coop in just a minute. This is episode number 168, the Pete Maravich episode, as Pistol Pete once scored 68 points against the New York Knicks in 1977. But as good as Pistol Pete was, I have a hard time believing he would have been able to put up 68 points against tonight's guest. Bruce, why don't you provide Coop a proper introduction?
Thanks, Ross. Michael Cooper played 12 seasons in the NBA, all with the Los Angeles Lakers. His defense and timely scoring helped LA win 5 chips in 10 seasons. During the decade of the 80s, Showtime made the NBA Finals 8 times. 7 different players from that dynasty are in the Hall of Fame. We've got Kareem, we've got Magic, James Worthy, Bob McAdoo, Jamal Wilkes, Spencer Haywood, and our most recent inductee, tonight's guest. Coop's been a championship coach in the WNBA, a head coach in the Big Three, an NBA head coach, and most importantly, a podcast host. His show is called Showtime with Michael Cooper. And along with Nick Gelso from Boston, Coop spreads his wisdom far and wide. His number 21 hangs in the rafters at the Crypto.com arena and will never be worn by another Laker ever again. Welcome to 48 Minutes, Coop.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Hey, so Coop, you spent a lot of time in New England this summer. Your podcast partner's from Boston. I'm from Boston. We did our event a few weeks ago at the Hoop Hall in Springfield, Massachusetts. So, hey, we're all happy that you finally flipped over to our side.
Well, thank you, BB. I'm going to call you Baby B for the show. I'm going to call RG for Ross. I'm a nickname guy, and we already know World B. So, World Free, World Free. Just lovely to be here. Been a lot of things I have going on, but I'm so glad to be part of the show tonight.
You know, seriously, though, you grew up in Pasadena, and we're around the same age. I went to my first NBA game in 1966. So what were your biggest memories about the great Lakers teams of the late 60s and early 70s with Jerry, Elgin, and Wilt?
Well, you know, it's so unfortunate that they were kind of bad memories. But again, there was some great basketball. But the memories I have is that the Lakers could never get over that Boston mystique. And having to go up against them, I remember the most infamous shot where Don Nelson shot the ball and it goes straight up in the air and comes straight down and broke our hearts there. But the funny part about that is my uncle, who's the one that was kind of like my role model for sports. He was a baseball player, but he was kind of got us out there playing basketball. He was a huge Celtic fan. So it was a love-hate thing in our home. I really wasn't like a true Laker fan back then. I appreciated the guys that played, but I kind of grew up as a Celtic fan. But I finally got that green stuff off me, and I'm purple and gold now, baby.
Now, Coop, we want to dive into some current stuff going on around the NBA, the WNBA, and also the Big Three. But we need to talk about your career first. You're, of course, as Bruce alluded to, in the Hall of Fame. You were a superstar glue guy for the Lakers, and your superpower was your defense. Larry Bird called you the best defender he ever faced, and you guarded guys anywhere from 6'1" to 6'9". How did you turn yourself into one of those most versatile and best defenders the game has ever seen?
Well, you know what? I was always blessed going back to high school. God rest their soul. My high school coach, George Turgeon, was called the Hawk, and he was all about defense, and we were a very good defensive team in high school. So he set the stage for the fundamental aspects of defense. Then going to New Mexico, my late, great Norm Ellenberger. Norm was a tenacious defender. He wanted me to be a good defender, and we were a full-court pressing team, so I had that aggression. But going to the Lakers, my first year when I got drafted by them, I go into camp. Jerry West, the late, great Jerry West, was our coach. And the first thing he told me when I walked in there, he said, Coop, ain't enough balls for you to get any shots, so you got to do something else. So defense was my forte. I knew how to play it, and I just took that and ran with it.
Now, Michael, you and Magic are particularly close as players. You remain close. When you guys first met, you were, as you mentioned, you were a second-year guy. Magic was a rookie, but you were kind of a rookie too, because you were limited to just 3 games that first season. What made you guys click on the court and off the court, I guess?
Well, you know what? Magic and I was on the Lakers first, and he came in 1980. And going into training camp that year, I'll never forget this. We were at College of the Desert down in Palm Springs. And it was kind of like all the veterans. They had Lou Hudson, Ron Boone, Norm Nixon. I mean, a lot of vets that were very, very significant players throughout during the 70s, coming into the 80s. And Magic and I were kind of like the only rookies. So I remember he used to come and get me early in the morning, 6 o'clock. He'd be knocking on my door. Come on, Coop, let's go eat breakfast. And there was a Denny's like about 200 yards. So we used to walk over there. Magic would get a USA Today Sports, and we would sit down and have breakfast for 2 weeks for the whole training camp time. And we did that for 12 years. So we became, even when we became the veterans, we were still doing that. But that was kind of like our togetherness thing. That's how we kind of bonded our friendship. And it was like he and I against the rest of them. And he was like, Coop, I got to help you make this team. And I'm like, Irv, you know what? I got to make this team. So we just played. And in practice, we just kind of had that sync going. I was on the same team as him, but I was behind him. I played the backup behind him. And then as the years progressed, then I became the stellar on our second team. So I was always playing against them. So, again, iron sharpens iron. Irvin always got me ready to play against some of the best in the game. But our friendship was cemented by those first 2 or 3 years, going to training camp, eating, talking about what we wanted to accomplish, talking about what we wanted to do as a team. And that's how, in a sense, that's how Showtime, because Magic was always a winner. We know the Michigan State, Indiana State game, him winning that. So he brought championship mentality to the NBA. But the biggest thing he brought was he always used to say, you know what, Coop, doesn't look like the guys are having fun. We got to have fun doing it. So we were always smiling in practice and training camp. He was smiling. He was like, dude, what you smiling about? Because I enjoy being out here. And that became so infectious with everybody else. That's how we became. We went to work not thinking that it was work. We went to work acting like we were 13, 14-year-old kids. We're going out to play basketball. Let's have fun.
Well, there was a guy on your team who was an unbelievable player, didn't always look like he was having fun until Magic, and then your role increased. That, of course, is Kareem. And look, he doesn't get enough of the GOAT votes. MJ gets his share, LeBron gets his share, but his GOAT case is actually better than MJ's, isn't it?
You know what? The young kids today, and that's become more relevant in the last, say, 5 to 10 years. So a lot of people never saw Kareem play. I'm pretty sure all of us here, especially you, BB, you're old enough to remember Kareem going back to Power Memorial back in New York and his days at UCLA, World Be Free. You remember those days. So people don't really realize that Kareem was a very athletic, skilled, versatile, smart basketball player, and we got a chance to see that. And I say, you know what, when people ask me who the GOAT is, and that's what the young people today, they're gonna always come up with the names that are relevant now. Steph Curry, Durant, LeBron. But you know what, Kareem is my GOAT, because there's 3 things that make a GOAT. One, how do you get the ball out of a GOAT's hand, the great player's hands? You go double, triple team him. He got to pass the ball. Kareem didn't have to pass it. He had the sky hook. He put it up here, and 3 people weren't going to get it from him. And then the second thing is the GOAT has to be a good passer, and Kareem was one of the best passers this game has ever had the opportunity to see. So that was it. And third, how do you hinder a GOAT? You foul him. And that's what, in a sense, eliminates Wilt, who was a pretty decent free throw shooter, Shaquille O'Neal, who's a decent free throw shooter. Kareem was an excellent free throw shooter. So to me, those 3 things are significant to him. And I mean, if you look at LeBron is a very good free throw shooter, but I mean, there's that iffy. I never felt during crunch time, 1 point down, 1 point up, 2 for Kareem was going to always make his free throws. But again, the case can be made for anybody. LeBron's one of the best that's ever played this game. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is my GOAT.
And none of those other guys actually had the rules of basketball changed to try and stop them too.
Well, you know what? I was riding with somebody the other day, and they told me that Wilt Chamberlain has created 47 changes in the NBA, and we didn't get too deep into it. But again, you have to understand that they had to widen the lane for Wilt Chamberlain. They did a lot of things. They outlawed throwing the lob from out of bounds over the baskets for Wilt Chamberlain. But as you said, they outlawed the dunk for Kareem. He was so significant in college basketball, which I honestly believe made him a much better player, because now you had to go to that finesse game. The sky hook was developed. Everything wasn't a dunk. He had the little turnaround banker. Coach Wooden taught him and Bill Walton that shot, the late, great Bill Walton, how to hit that little turnaround banker. So you're absolutely right, B, is that Kareem has had a significant impact on the history of the game of basketball, as well as LeBron and some of the other ones. But again, like I said, Kareem had a shot that nobody could stop, and that to me makes him the GOAT of all time.
For the record here, for the tape recording here, I could also consider Kareem the GOAT, if you will, over all the others for, among many reasons, the ones you just described there. But one of the funny things about this show tonight is that 3 of the 4 people in our show worked with, in some capacity, were a teammate of Kurt Rambis. Bruce worked with him at ESPN. Ross was on his coaching staff when he was coaching with the Knicks, and you obviously were his teammate for many years. He was only a guy who averaged 5 points, 5 rebounds a game around there, but he had a indelible impact on the game, on your team's success. What was it that made him successful, and made the Lakers successful?
Well, he's affectionately known as Superman around our area here within the team. But Kurt was a unique individual. Going back to the late 60s, all through the 70s, there was something called an enforcer. And if you look at your enforcers, you had Lonnie Shelton, you had Maurice Lucas, you had some of the Wes Unseld. Those guys were enforcers. I hate to say this, but Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn, I'll say that, I don't like them, but those guys were enforcers. And Kurt came along in that mode. And you know what? Everybody had a significant role on the Showtime Lakers, and Kurt was one of the best. He always went up against the best power forward, Buck Williams, when he was at Portland and then going to New Jersey. Kurt always went against those guys, and you know what? He held his own. A lot of the times we didn't have to double down, and that helps lopsiding your defense. You have to shrink your defense a little bit. Kurt was able to handle his own, but the best quality Kurt Rambis had was that if somebody scored, Kurt got the ball out of bounds and into Magic's hands faster than anybody that's ever played for us. I think AC Green along came, but Kurt had the ball from out of bounds to inbounds, which enabled us to get Showtime transition, fast break in order. So if you shot the ball and missed, we were going to run it down your throat. But the fun part about it is if you shot the ball and make it, we're going to run it down your throat. And that's what Kurt provided for us.
Yeah, and Coop, I think we can all agree that Kurt is much more of a character behind closed doors than he ever was on camera. I mean, at least that was my recollection working with him. Always in for a good laugh, loves a good joke, and absolutely loves coming up with witty nicknames for people. So I'm just curious, was he like that back in the day as your teammate when he was a player as well?
Even more so.
Okay.
Kurt and Mitch Kupchak had a unique bond with each other because they called each other the injured brothers because they were always injured. One of them always had an injury, and most of the time the injury happened in practice because they were so competitive against one another. But Kurt is probably, and Kareem are probably the 2 of the funniest guys I've ever been around in my life with basketball. That's in general, and they are so funny. I'll tell you a quick story about Kurt Rambis, and he'll say that this didn't happen, but I saw this happen with my own eyes. Him and Mitch Kupchak, everybody had their own unique way to get fired up for the game. Before the game, we're walking around the locker room, everybody said, yeah, let's go. You ready? So Kurt and Mitch would get a cup of water, okay? And Kurt would walk up to Mitch and say, Mitch, you ready? And Mitch would walk up to Kurt and say, yes, I'm ready. Are you ready? And then Kurt would would go, Mitch, you ready? Drink some water and spit it in Mitch's face. And Mitch would the same thing. And after they did that, the face is dripping wet. We're ready. And the spit. It was absolutely funny because it was probably done in like 15 or 20 seconds, but that was the hilariousness of Kurt Rambis and the true love of the game and for his teammates. Not the spitting in your face is the love that goes with it. But you know what? They were ready to go.
I can believe it.
When we did shows together, there was no liquid hijinks involved in any of our pre-show meetings. But, Kurt's been an advisor to the team now for a number of years. His incredible wife, Linda, who's a good friend, is one of the highest-ranking executives in the Lakers organization. In fact, she was a Laker before Kurt was on the team. She and Jeannie Buss, best of friends. And given my own experiences with Kurt and Linda, they seem to typify the family vibe that's been such a hallmark of the organization since Dr. Buss bought the team. I mean, how important is that family vibe to the Laker family and Laker Nation?
Very important. That's what the Lakers are all about. If you played on a Laker team, you always felt that love and that family atmosphere. And Dr. Buss created that from the beginning. And when you came to a game at the Great Western Forum, and if you were a fan of the game and you were a true Laker, I mean, you felt the love there, and we felt it from the fans, So that just permeated throughout the whole organization, and it still does to this day. If you're part of the Lakers, everything, you're always considered a family. And that has been started and has been established and continues to thrive in the Laker organization now. And obviously the Lakers have changed names now. I mean, the new owners and stuff like that. But I don't think that will dissipate or leave the Lakers everywhere. Once a Laker, always a Laker. And it goes from you, your wife, your significant other, all the way down to your kids, your moms. If anybody, we used to go to Michigan. Magic's mom would come to the room. It was like, oh, here come Mama Johnson coming into the room, and anybody's mother, my mother would come. We all considered every aspect of our family as to be part of the Lakers, and that's one of the unique things, and that's why we're the only team in NBA sport, in NBA sports, that have been able to have that reunion. We did, and this was a shirt from that reunion. Went over there, and there was 48 players. If you played on a championship team, you were brought over. You, your significant other, flown over. We were there for a whole week. Everything was paid for. You had to eat in the morning. You had to eat we ate as a team. Families, your wife or whoever came with you, you ate as a team. We had lunch together, and then at night we had dinner together. And then we had a family room, is what we called it. I won't call it the Forum Club, but that's kind of like what it was. We all know what the Forum Club was like, but it wasn't like that. But the family room was where, Magic loves playing cards. There was black dominoes. There was a karaoke machine, and we just stayed down there for the whole night. We usually finish eating like about 8:39 until about 1, 2 in the morning. We were in that room singing, dancing, having a good time. And then somebody every single night had to get up and say something significant, however you felt what the Lakers were about. So Lakers are about family. That's who we were, and that's who we'll always be.
So, Coop, it's fair to say now, judging by what you just went into here, that the new sale that you mentioned, new ownership, for $10 billion, you don't expect the culture that you just described. Do you expect that changing at all? How are they going to maintain that? Because it was such a family ownership for so many years. How do you worry at all that it's going to change?
I don't think
the culture you just described.
You got to remember, Magic is part of the Dodgers, Mr. Walt's team, and I think he will still be involved. Jeannie is the governor still. She'll still be the governor. So she'll still have her fingerprints on the Lakers. May not be like a big impact, but again, the chemistry and the makeup of what the Lakers have been about, that will never change. And I think the new players coming in, and I think it's already changed one player, Luka Doncic. Look at the transformation that young man has made. Coming in, people talked about him being overweight. That kid looks good now. And that's all about, you have to be in great shape to be a Laker, because the Lakers are about winning championships. And already he's done that. So look at where we're going. So no, the culture is not going to change at all. That will never change.
Well, being in great shape was something that Pat Riley always insisted upon. I've heard lots of stories from players who used to play for him. One of them being a story about Stacey King when he was in Miami Heat training camp, which I can't get into right now, but it's really typifies what how important conditioning was to him. What were his biggest strengths as a coach? And are those the things that you tried to incorporate into your own coaching style?
Well, for sure. I mean, Pat Riley had a big influence on my coaching. Some of the things I've taken away from him that I use, probably 60% of my coaching are how he handled us. Pat Riley always talked about for us after when he took over the job, and then the next year was about, you don't use training camp to get in shape. You use training camp to get the team ready. So it was very, very important and pertinent that when we came into training camp, that you were at your best condition. It wasn't about running you up and down, and unless, Kareem was that different kind of guy, but Kareem used yoga and the things he did on his own, so he always came into shape prepared. I think just 1 or 2 times up and down or 1 or 2 practices would get his cardio together. But myself, Magic, the rest of the guys that were out on that transition break, we had a treadmill we had to run. We had to do a lot of stuff. There was a time we had on the treadmill where you'd have to do it, and everybody had their own categories. Guards had to do this, small forwards. So when we got to training camp, we were ready to go. And the one thing I loved about Coach Riley, other than his looks and his hair, I loved the fact that it was attention to detail. Pat Riley had the I's dotted and the T's crossed on everything, going from our scouting report to our preparation for practice to the game the way we prepared for the game as a team, going out on the court. And there was things that were happening on the court that we always had to do and know about. And that was the fun part, even going to our scouting report. Once we got into the playoffs, back then we had the beta and the VHS, the big old square things you had to pull out back then. Well, we had the Pat Riley in our scouting report. I'd probably have like 4 people. Say if it's Boston, I would have Danny Ainge, Dennis Johnson, Larry Bird, and somebody else. Well, he would have clips of all those players. But to make sure that you would watch it, he would put a code word in there somewhere. If it was before, it could be in the middle, at the end. You had to watch it to go. And the next day when you come, you didn't have your code word. So, for example, my code word would be long socks because I wore long, high socks. Yep. So I'm watching that, and that would change every game, okay? So he called, Kareem, what's your code word? Sky hook. Magic, what's your code word? No look pass. Coop, what's your code word? Long socks. So he knew that if you're going to listen to the whole thing, you might as well watch the game tape. So we were always ready and prepared. And that was the one thing, attention to detail, that I had followed me into my coaching with the women's team in the WNBA, winning 2 champions with the Sparks, coaching in the D League, which is now the G League in Albuquerque. I use that, and now I use that in my coaching now, along with when I was coaching my AAU program. All those things are very, very important. And Pat Riley was a big, significant reason why.
That's awesome. Now, after your playing career, Coop, you went on to work with Jerry West as his special assistant. Jerry is one of the greatest players and executives in the history of the sport. And I'm just curious, what did he mean to you? And what were some things he asked you to do as a special assistant?
Well, as a special assistant, no, I didn't go get his coffee and donuts. That I did not do. I promise you that. I didn't do that. But the one thing I learned about Jerry was how to scout talent. Now, when you're a championship team, you're not getting the top 10 picks. You're always getting that last pick. So when I went to watch, say, a team like North Carolina or Duke or one of those teams like that, you're not looking at Cooper Flagg. You're looking at him to admire him. But no, you're looking at that 7th, 8th guy on the bench, that 9th guy that could come in and be a contributor. And that was the one thing that Jerry West was so damn good at, is that he could assess talent, and he always made the right decisions for our team. Every year, it wasn't about changing the whole team. No, it was just about add one piece that we didn't have from last year. The most significant thing he did, obviously, was drafting me, James Worthy, AC Green, and then on Magic, but was bringing Michael Thompson. When we lost to the Celtics in '84, he knew that we needed a defensive player that could defend Kevin McHale. Why not go get a guy that played with him in college, Minnesota? They played together. Who else would know him any better than his wife? Was Michael Thompson. So he brought Michael in, and that was the reason why we were able to beat the Celtics, because of those special moves and being around Jerry West. That has rubbed off on me, because again, in recruiting players now with the portal and all of that, you got to find those kids. Yeah, everybody wants that star kid, But that star kid is not necessarily going to come to you. He's going to UConn or so. So I got to find that piece that's going to be right for our team, and that piece that can come in and make a significant contribution. And that's the thing that Jerry West taught me the most. The second thing and most important thing, Jerry was a golfer, loved the golf. So when we went out recruiting, I have never been around anyone. When we would go recruit, me, Miss Trupchek, Ronnie Lester, all the guys would go out recruit, and we would go to breakfast or we'd go to lunch. I've never seen anybody that eat as fast as Jerry West. Jerry West could order, a good-sized meal, and it's gone in 2 minutes. I mean, it was absolutely amazing how fast, and he was talking at the same time. And everybody else kind of like, when he's finished, he's ready to go, and we're still like halfway through ours. But again, Jerry was a unique guy. The kid from Cabin Creek was something else.
Hey, Coop, now the relationship with Jerry and the Lakers really came to an unfortunate, impasse or whatever. It really was a disappointing end to that, without taking sides in the issues or whatever that were between them. For you, how disappointing was it to see that whole thing transpire over the last few years, the way, whatever reason, whatever the situation, but from your perspective, seeing that develop, that ongoing rift or whatever, how disappointing was that for you?
Well, I don't really know the whole background of that, so I can't speak too highly on it, but it was just a little disappointing because here you got the logo. Jerry West had done so much for so many teams of the Laker championship teams, and obviously with his departure going to Golden State and then Memphis and then the other places he went, was kind of sad. But I don't really know all the things that went on behind the scenes, so I can't really say it. But again, Jerry was, it's unfortunate that it happened. But in our eyes, we still see Jerry West as the ultimate Laker. He's always one of us.
All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and switch gears and talk about some current NBA, WNBA, and Big Three news right after this. And we're back here on 48 Minutes with NBA legend and Hall of Famer Michael Cooper. Coop, after your time as a special assistant with Jerry West, you went into coaching, and you had great success in the WNBA, winning 2 championships with Lisa Leslie and some other great women's players. In 20 years since you left the W, how has the skill level of the female players changed, in your opinion?
You know what? First of all, I'm so honored to be part of that, the development, the longevity of the WNBA. When I got in there, I got in 97, 98, 99 season. I came in as assistant to Orlando Woolridge, the late great Orlando Woolridge was a coach, and he brought me on as an assistant. But prior to that, I had been up to the Say No Classic run by this young lady named Rhonda Wyndham, who was our PR director at the Lakers. And she was a former player for the Women of Troy, and she had started a women's league up there, Summer League. So that was my first time seeing Tina Thompson, Lisa Leslie, Cynthia Cooper play, unrestricted and play like men play. They were playing the game. And that's how I got hooked on the women's game. So when I became a coach and had the opportunity to be an assistant coach and working with Lisa Leslie and some of the other great players they had, Allison Feaster at that time, Tamika Dixon, to get in there and go compete against a Houston Comet team who had 3 of the best that's ever played this game, Tina Thompson, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, among the other ones, Janet Arcane, and then their coach, Van Chancellor, to play against them and watch that team win the first 4 championships of that league. That instilled a whole different mindset into me as a coach, because now I was looking at a female Boston Celtic. Okay, that's the Houston Comets. So when I got to overtake the reins, that was my goal. We had to build our team, and I had a wonderful, first of all, Johnny Buss was our owner of our team, who brought that family atmosphere to the WNBA side. Then I had a great general manager in Penny Toller, the woman who scored the first 2 points in the history of the WNBA was my general manager. So together, she was a female Jerry West, and we started putting that team together, putting those pieces together. Then all of a sudden, you got Tisha Penichero, Yolanda Griffin, Dawn Staley. You got other women starting to play this game and the league growing and watching how it was growing, and us finally dethroning the Houston Comets and winning our first 2 championships back to back. It is such a joy to see this league just grow and grow. When I first got in there in 2000, 2001, Phil Jackson was the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. And I used to tell Phil, because we were trying to attract that armchair man to come to the game. And I said, Phil, love for you to come to a women's game. Oh, no, Coop, don't watch women's basketball. Well, to this day, I don't think he's ever gone, but I still love Phil for that. But that just shows you the men's mentality of they didn't really take that league seriously. But that league has grown. The players have only gotten better, bigger, stronger, faster. And the league is, in this 27th year now, that people would tell me, oh, cool, this will be over in 4 or 5 years. I'm so glad the NBA got behind it and giving these women an opportunity to make money like men here in the States. Before that league started, the women, in order to compensate themselves, they had to go overseas. So that old saying, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, that was really, really relevant in the game. But now young girls can see Caitlin Clark, Sue Bird, and players like that now, Angel Reese. They can see these young ladies and they can articulate and want to be like them because here is played in their backyard that they can see. So I'm just happy to be part of that. And watch the growth. And now I can sit back and just kind of watch it get bigger, stronger, better, and faster.
Now, Coop, as you mentioned, you won back-to-back championships. And then in 2003, you got to play the Detroit Shock for another championship and trying for a three-peat. And you went up against an old rival there in Bill Laimbeer. I'm just curious what it was like to coach against him as well as what it was like to play against him during those times.
No, I'm not a big fan of Bill Laimbeer. I don't like playing against him. I don't like coaching against him. I don't like Bill Laimbeer for many reasons. But I'm going to say this. Bill and I go all the way back to high school. He went to Palos Verdes High. I went out here to Pasadena High School. So I've known Bill for a long time. The reason why I have so much venom and animosity toward Bill Laimbeer, because when the Los Angeles Lakers were playing and we're going for our three-peat, we beat the Celtics, we come back, beat the Pistons, and we come back for a three-peat, we got to play them, and we ended up getting swept. So I'm not really high on Bill in that aspect. So I said, you know what, let me go to the women's. So I try to get away from this guy. Next thing you know, he's at Detroit Shock, the women's coach. Again, going for a three-peat, got a chance to beat them, we come up against the Shock. And they beat us. So Bill Laimbeer doesn't have a very good name in my household. I respect him as a man, but I hate him as a player he was and as a coach he is. But those were some fun times coaching because you got to respect that guy because he brought that bad boy mentality to the WNBA. And I mean, he had Cheryl Ford and the group he had there. He had them playing just like the Pistons did back in the 80s. And that's why that league, I really do believe the love was spread around. So the competition was spread out, and that's why the league is thriving so much today because you have other teams in other markets that can compete or go on for a championship.
Yeah, and speaking of thriving here, Coop, Caitlin Clark, you mentioned her earlier. She's definitely helped ignite interest in the WNBA in her 2 seasons thus far. Her salary is just under $80,000, but she makes 8 figures in endorsement, reportedly $11 million per year. Can you put into words what her presence has done for this league and will continue to do for the popularity of the W moving forward?
You know what? I'm going to pair her and Angel Reese together coming into the league. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when Magic and Larry Bird came into the league. They were 2 different faces with the mentality of winning. They were going to win on their own, the way that they play the basketball, make their teams that much more competitive, and then go for a championship. And this young lady and Angel Reese have definitely done that. Caitlin on a whole nother level because she comes in with the mystique of being the female Steph Curry. And you know what? I love the fact that that young lady can shoot. I wish the referees would protect her a little bit more, but you know what? The referees, you can't select that one player. Are players taking cheap shots at her? Probably so, but we did that with Larry Bird. We did that with some of the greatest NBA players, you know what? And what she has to do is just take her hits, get back up and show them that this is not going to bother me and keep on rolling. So I'm loving the fact that she has changed the game to another level, the way that those guys have. And she's taking the WNBA, the W, to another 10-year cycle that's going to be around, especially for a long time. I'm predicting this. And I really do believe that you're going to see when she really gets into this. Now, she's battling a growing injury now. She hasn't played in a bit. But once she starts really figuring this whole thing out and she can get her legs up underneath her, she's going to be the first woman to average about 32, 35 points a game in the league because that young lady can shoot.
Yeah.
And she can flat out shoot the basketball. And I love that her shots come easy. She makes the game easy. And when she does that, she makes it easy for her teammates. So look for big things from her.
You mentioned kind of comparing Caitlin and Angel a little bit to Larry and Magic, who had a college rivalry, as did Caitlin and Angel. Does an individual rivalry like that, I mean, we know what it did for the NBA back when that one. Do you see that happening in a similar way for the W, where like there's going to be like Team Caitlin and Team Angel amongst like casual fans that maybe don't even root for either of those teams?
Yeah, I can see that happening. And again, it has happened. But you get a woman like Angel Wilson up in Las Vegas Aces, who kind of like peers her head and letting everybody know that she's good. Kelsey Plum out here in LA, the little guard from Washington that can play the game of basketball. So that is great for the game because, again, sports only thrives when you have some kind of rivalry going, whether it's individuals or whether it's teams. You got to have that because that's what makes it fun. Somebody now, you can't sit on the fence. You got to pick a side. And that's the fun part about it. You're an Angel Reese fan. You're a Caitlin Clark fan. You're an Angel Wilson fan. You got to be somebody. So that's the fun part about it. And right now, I'm not picking anybody. I love the whole W as a whole because it's kind of like I got a chance to see that grow up. And this is it's bearing the fruits of our labor of all the Lisa Leslies and Tina Thompson and Cynthia Cooper. This is what it was supposed to be about. And you forget about the Ann Myers, Nancy Lieberman, Cheryl Miller. Just think if they had an opportunity to play in the league with them women, just think this league would be a lot further ahead than that. But again, they laid the groundwork. Sometimes you got to get walked over to be appreciated. And that's what's happening. They laid the groundwork and the WNBA is growing up, but we'll never forget about those warriors that came before them.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, let's talk about the big three here, Coop. You are the head coach of the Miami 305 that has former NBA guys like Michael Beasley, Mario Chalmers, and the always unpredictable Lance Stevenson. So I got to ask, how does coaching in the Big Three league compare to coaching in the WNBA or NBA? What you're the first we've had on from the Big Three in any capacity. I'm curious to kind of hear what the vibe's like and what's it's like being a coach.
Well, first of all, I love the Big Three. The Big Three is here to stay. As the W just started out, we're in our 7th, 8th season with the Big Three. The Big Three is unique in the concept of when you were growing up and you were going from neighborhood to neighborhood or from school to school, and you could only get you, your boy, and another guy. Hey, man, let's go over here and run this court here. You play 3-on-3 basketball. It's street basketball. It's about, hey, we got to be here. You got 10 other teams over there on the side waiting. They got their name on the list. So you can't afford to lose because if you lose, you got to wait half the day to get back on the court. So you get the best two players. And that's what we have with the Big Three. It's flat out street ball. It's very good. It's different coaching, though, because it's not 5-on-5. And you really can't say, okay, we're going to let this guy score and we're not going to let that guy score. It's man to man. And all the action happens at one end. Most of the time when you're playing full court, if a guy is killing you, well, I run to the other end and get away from him. Now, ain't no other end to run to. It's all going down right here. So that's the unique part about it. And with having that much experience, and I have Reggie Evans and Sean Williams. Sean played 5 or 6 years with the Knicks. Reggie Evans played with several teams, Sacramento being his last team he played with. I have like over almost 43 years of experience, not counting myself, but just the players that we had that have played this game of basketball. So it's a unique kind of play. We are an own team now. Our owner is Heath out of Miami. That's why we had to change our names from Three's Company to Miami 305. But it's really special basketball. I have to coach and manage egos than anything else. That's the biggest thing. You know, we bring Lance in. We didn't have him last year. Lance and Michael Beasley had this little one-on-one prior to the season, and I was a little concerned about it when he was going to be in the draft. It was like, do we take him and start this? But you know what? They have worked it out. They have gelled well together, and you know what? The fun part about the Big Three is not my way. It's the team's way, and we all get in. We make decisions about play. I'll draw up the plays, and then once the play is exhausted, we come back to the huddle, and Mario will take the clipboard, and he'll draw up something else. So it's the fun part about it. I love it because the one thing as a former player that you miss When you retire, people are like, what do you miss? You miss the running up and down. No, I don't miss Pat Riley's running. I don't miss Pat Riley's training camp, but I miss the camaraderie. I miss the togetherness. I miss the preparation in the locker room, on the bus rides to the thing. Well, I get all that back now because I'm back into the game. It's just that I don't play. But, man, the Big Three is special. We're right in the thick of it. We're tied for with only 4 teams go to the playoffs, and we're number 3. So we got a big week coming up. We'll be in L.A. this week here. And we play the Houston Rig Hands, who are coached by Calvin Murphy, a great player. And Calvin got a lot of feistiness about him. But the Big Three is special, man. And if you haven't been to a game, you got to get out there. There's only 3 games left. We play in L.A. here. The next game is in Dallas. And the championship game will be in Orlando, Florida.
All right. We'll be his neck of the woods.
Hey, one of the things that makes the Big Three unique outside of the format, whatever, is you have a 4-point shot. And I'm just curious if it may be a stretch. It obviously is a stretch, but do you see the way the league has gone in the NBA, how it's so far outside in offensively? Is there ever going to be a time when we'll see the 4-point shot in the NBA?
I believe so. I think they have to. If you look at where Steph Curry and all these guys are shooting the ball from, Luka, Dante, the guys are shooting behind. You might as well reward them for that. You have to. Big Three has that, and we also have something called Bring the Fire. You know when you're playing on the schoolyard and y'all playing and you go to the hoop and a guy calls foul. No, I didn't foul you. There's an argument, and then they'll say, well, let's shoot for it. And then you go to the top of the key. Well, our Bring the Fire is if you go to the hoop and you get fouled or something like that, the defense, you call, bring the fire shoots out, and these guys go one-on-one from the top of the key. And it's really, you could do whatever you want. I mean, you can hit him with the elbow offensively. You can foul him pretty hard defensively, but you got to score. If you score, you get the points. If you don't, we get the ball and like that. So there's some unique aspects about the Big Three that I love that brings back to that old school basketball, man on man, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do see the 4-point. You almost have to see it because the guys are shooting so far out. Why not give them that extra point?
Bruce, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. That's one way to shut me up, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna now hop into the present Lakers situation because we can't let you go without talking about what the next season's going to be looking like. So obviously the team's been busy this offseason. LeBron opts into his contract, pick up DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, along with Jake LaRavia. Luka looks to be in better shape, and he should be more effective with a dog like Marcus on the perimeter, helping him out, guarding some guys. So Marcus Smart, and again, I know it's my Celtic coming through here. He's always been a player that has his teammates' backs, okay? He's the guy, if you're in a foxhole, that's the guy you want next to you, Marcus Smart. And that mindset, I believe, is contagious on a team. So it helps, bond guys together. So do you see Marcus, even though he's in his first year with the team, assuming a leadership role in the locker room?
Yes, I do. And he knows what it's like to play championship basketball. He knows what it's like to play high caliber basketball, and he's a great teammate. And I think that's what the Lakers were missing, is that somebody that could go and guard a 1, 2, or 3, some 4s, because now it looks like some teams are playing small ball with one big out there. And Marcus Smart will be that player. He'll come in and do all the dirty work. He'll come in and do the plus work on, he doesn't require a lot of shots. So Luka's not going to have to, or LeBron's going to have to miss any shots with him on the floor, but he'll go rebound. He'll take charges. He'll be that tough guy that you need, and he'll get the ball to where it's supposed to go. And those are the things that help build championship teams. So that was a great acquisition. The Lakers picked up with him to go along with LeBron and Luka and the other pieces that they were able to keep.
Hey, Coop, one of the other guys Bruce just mentioned that the Lakers picked up was DeAndre Ayton. Now, he's a former number 1 overall pick. His numbers are okay, but he just hasn't lived up to the hype, I guess, that surrounds being the number 1 overall pick. But now he gets to come to a team where he's not going to be the man, as it were. He's got, the Lakers are stockpiled in that regard. What do you think about his skill set, what he can bring to the Lakers? And you mentioned earlier in our show about Michael Thompson. I was thinking about this the other day. This bears a lot of a strong resemblance to the acquisition of Michael Thompson back during your day, a former number 1 overall pick, a big man. He maybe wasn't appreciated as much as his previous stop, but he came and had a major impact on your team back in the 80s. Can Ayton be that kind of pickup for the Lakers this time around?
I think so. And I think the thing that Ayton brings is that the Lakers lost the ability, which with Luka really, really did a good job when he was at Dallas with, is getting those big guys, those lobs, and that they didn't have that. So I think that's where Ayton will be a plus for them, as well as being a kind of a rim protector, but he's a mobile big. He can get up and down the floor. So when the Lakers want to run, they'll have a big that can get down the floor with them, but they have a skilled big. You can throw the ball in Ayton and he'll get something done for you. And that's the thing I love about him. And you know what? Sometimes when a player comes in this league as the star player and he's not really suited for that, sometimes he needs to be that supporting cast. And I think that's the position that the Lakers are putting him in now, is to being a support. You're not looked on to score every night, but you looked on to do something every night, and it has to be on the positive side. So will they go to him to get 20 points every night? I don't think so. But when they go to him, he'll be able to get that point, that basket, to take a little pressure off LeBron and Luka on the outside. But again, look for him to run, look for him to pick and roll, look for Luka setting him up with a lot of lob passes, which is going to give him, I'd say, between 10 and 12 points every single game, just off of lobs.
Yeah, and it was great to see DeAndre Ayton at Luka's extension press conference as well. Good to see that he's already in town and, as you said earlier, picking up on the Laker culture. Now, Coop, with Luka getting into tip-top shape over this summer, obviously the photos have come out, videos come out. He looks great. Obviously, conditioning was one of the concerns once he joined the Lakers and some of the concerns even when he was in Dallas. But as a former player yourself, I'm curious what aspects of his game should improve with better conditioning outside of like the obvious one, being able to run more.
Well, look at him being able to be a better defensive player. I really do believe that, because you won't be as fatigued as he was before. Now he'll be able to move around a little bit better. Look for his scoring to go up, because now you get more time on the court. Sometimes I honestly believe that coaches took him out to give him a breather because he looked like he was tired. Now when he's in shape, he'll be able to get up and down and play. Maybe not the whole 48 minutes, but he'll play 40 plus, which means there's more time for him to score more shots on the basket. But first and foremost, it's just that he proves to his teammates that he's committed. You know, the teammates see you working as hard as he do. And, I mean, you can't help it, but look at LeBron, the way he works out, and he's going to be 40-plus this going into the season, something unheard of in the NBA. And now you got this guy going here. So now him and LeBron out on the court the whole time, especially Luka being a lot younger, only good things can happen when you're in the best tip-top shape. And he's going to realize that now. And I guarantee he's going to say, wow, I should have done this before. But you know what? Better late than never. And he's done it with the Lakers. So look for the Lakers to win the championship this year.
Wow, very optimistic there. So another star player, not on the Lakers, with conditioning issues is Zion Williamson. You know, for a guy who likes to spend a lot of time playing above the rim, he carries an awful lot of weight on that frame. I feel like his style and weight are major contributors to a lot of his injury problems. I mean, he's such an explosive leaper, and I wonder how he can ever reach his full potential if he doesn't drop around 30 to 40 pounds, because he's going up in the air and all that weight's coming down on his legs and his knees and his ankles. What would you tell him if he ever asked you for your opinion on how he could reach his potential?
I think the thing, B, would be that I would tell any player, in order to be the best you can be in the NBA, and you want to be that star player. And right now it's looking like people that are the best they can be are getting them max contracts. So if you want generational wealth and you want some wealth for your grandkids down the road, why not go out and spend a little bit of time? Because you know what? Your NBA career is short. I thought my career when I was going to play was going to be forever. There's only a few LeBron James that's going to play 20-plus years. Chris Paul's another one that's been there for a while. But again, most players are going to play 12, 13, 14 years. And Zion down there, if he continues with that way, he's not going to make 9 or 10 years. So I would tell any player, just get in the best shape you can, because this is a short window you have. And why waste 2, 3, 4 years and nagging injuries? And the injuries you have, you got to remember, when your basketball career is over, them injuries, if you haven't healed them all the way, are going to be there with you when you're 50, 60, 70 years old. And then you're going to be talking about hip replacement. You won't be able to move around well. Just stay in the best shape that you can, man, because there is life after basketball, and you want to have a life worth living.
For sure. And another number one pick, former number one overall pick, that still remains unsigned, Coop, is Ben Simmons. I was curious to kind of just get your thoughts on him. Obviously, we've seen his career go from number one overall to struggling to shoot the basketball. He's been out, not playing in some games, but his defense and passing are still excellent in the time that he has been on the court for certain NBA teams. So do you think a guy like Simmons can still be a major contributor to a championship level team, given his non-existent scoring skills at this point?
You know what? I just feel for that young man, and I pray for him, and I always wish good things for him. You know what? The mental aspect of basketball and life in general, and especially in today's kids, the last 10 or 15 years, that mental stuff is very, very real. My son kind of went through it a little bit. So mental health is very, very important. People should be more aware about that and catch those signs on the young, because you can see those coming. They happen early. It's just that we wait too long, and then when they blow up is when we take notice. But again, I just hope him all the best, because Ben Simmons is an excellent basketball player. He is along the lines of a Magic Johnson, somebody 6'10" that can pass the ball the way he do, get to the hoop. Everybody questions his shot. I don't. I just say shoot the ball when you can, because people said I couldn't shoot. I just kept shooting, and they'll go in. Bob McAdoo used to say it can't go in if it don't go up. So I would tell Ben that.
Yeah.
All in. But again, I hope him all the best. I think he's a player that can go and help a championship team. Again, but it's all about if he's ready mentally to play this game and to be ready for the everyday grind of the whole NBA season. But I'm wishing him all my best.
And we're wishing you all of our best, Coop. We cannot thank you enough for spending almost an hour with us here on 48 Minutes. Your insights, your knowledge, your humor, your appreciation for everything about basketball, from the big three to the W to all the finer points. You have really, enriched us and the folks who listen to us with sharing yourself with us. Thank you so very much for being with us. We really love that you were able to join us.
Thank you, RG. Thank you, DB. Thank you, World B Freeze. I love y'all. Thank you for having me on, and all my best to you guys. And Bruce, I hope to see you down the road somewhere again, okay?
For sure, man.
Coop, it's been an honor, and best of luck this weekend in your hometown LA to hopefully get a W for the Miami 305.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. And with that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes Podcast on Belief. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Take care, everyone.